Good morning, everybody. Hey, welcome to Tuesday, March 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I know I don't have green here, but I do have green socks on, green pants on. So I know you can't see me, but happy St. Patrick's Day. I know that we don't have a lot to celebrate today based on what happened yesterday, but it is what it is. And as long as there's uncertainty there, the markets are going to continue to have uncertainty there also. And so that's what we kind of saw yesterday was a lot of uncertainty within the marketplace as we saw a big point drop yesterday. Let me tell you, folks, it's never too late to get a second opinion on current portfolio. I read something recently that said, hey, if you haven't heard from your advisor in the last 2 weeks, call me. Folks, what's more important is what's your financial advisor doing to protect you from what's going on. If you are 50 years or older, man, I hope your advisor's been moving you over the last several weeks more and more into safety. Um, if not, if they're not doing anything but telling you to ride the storm, please give us a call and let's find out how much risk you have in your portfolio. 863-382-0037. Hey, Dave will be here in just a moment. Looking forward to our conversation since I was out yesterday.
Is Santana. My name is Morning Dave. It is the early morning show. We're at 8:38 here, and it is time to check your money. I went into the news a little early, slipped in an extra record, and messed with everybody's brain, including my own. That's okay. The market messed with all of our brains really well yesterday. Let's go downtown to the offices of Statler Financial Services, where Phillip Statler is standing by with the travel report, because you were actually on an airplane yesterday, weren't you, Phillip?
Yes, sir, I was. I took the weekend off and my birthday and went and visited my new granddaughter that's about 2.5 months old. So up in Tennessee. And so, yes, I got to fly both ways, right? So
Yep.
in both cases, we were on a 737, I think 700, and they were about 67% full. So you pretty much could have the middle seats open down both sides of the aisle and allow for a little social distancing. And that was both ways. Both ways it occurred.
And actually, that's close to ideal. Now, the projections are that the airlines are going to be seeing a lot worse than that as time goes on. But for the moment, if they were able to keep to the notion of alternate seating, that would kind of give us a feeling of safety and make travel feel a tinge better, wouldn't it?
It would. The other thing I saw was when we were in Tennessee is that restaurants are closing basically half their tables. So they're coming in and putting closed table signs, again, allowing for this little buffer zone between folks and groups of people so that you're not right on top of each other.
That also seems wise. One of my advertisers, I was mentioning this morning that there's space between tables and they'll give you enough space for social distancing. At this point in time, in a county like ours where we don't have any of the virus having tested through yet, that's that level of caution that makes sense. No cause for closing restaurants or any of the hotspot measures that have been needed yet. But still, it just makes good sense, even in a time where we don't have anybody tested, just to give it a little bit of extra elbow room to avoid the possibility.
Absolutely. I mean, it just does make some sense, and we'll get through this. It's just a matter of time till it runs its course, and we can be back to what is normal. Now, how long that's going to take, nobody knows, Dave. And I think that is part of our problem right now is that there's so much uncertainty around this virus that nobody has any idea of how long it's going to last, what's it going to do to the economy. Well, we kind of know what's going to do to the economy. It's crushing it right now because everybody is being forced to stay home. That's right.
Yep.
They're being forced to stay home. So once we get some certainty around there, I think we'll be okay.
Oh, yeah, and that word uncertainty is probably the ultimate four-letter word on Wall Street, because if there's one thing money does not like, it's not knowing what's going on. And that was what gave rise to what you'd have to be living in a hole to have not heard about. The Dow fell almost 3,000 points yesterday, darn near 13%. I think they blew the circuit breakers twice during the day and halted trading for 15 minutes. NASDAQ was down by 12.5%. Standard & Poor's was down almost a full 12%. You know you're in trouble when 11.98% down is the high mark for the day in terms of a bright spot. Uh, it's a bloodbath at the moment, and the only good thing that can be said about this is the fact that we know what's inducing it, fear and uncertainty. And as soon as we get some uncertainty, this may be a very short-lived bear market if we get that uncertainty handled quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Once there's some certainty, I mean, brought back into this economy with this virus, I think that we'll start to see some bounces there, and that's the issue. Really, is when is that going to happen? Nobody knows. But what we do know is that you know if you're out of the market, it could be dangerous, right? Because this thing could bounce up as fast as it's bounced down. You said, well, has it bounced down really that fast? It has. It's declined pretty rapidly over the last 3 or 4 weeks. And so, it could go back up just as fast as it came down.
Yeah, it has a tendency. I mean, that what goes up must go down cliche. It is true, but what goes down must come up, and it has a tendency at times to mirror the path it went in the first direction. Not all the time, but a really fast drop is very often followed by a really fast recovery as well.
Absolutely. And so I think it's caution time, especially if you're younger, man. Now's the time. Be dumping money in your 401k, all those type of things. Dollar cost averaging in is definitely not a bad thing. Now, if you're 50 plus, I got a little different tone for you. It at this point it is important because even though we think it'll bounce back, there's no guarantees that it'll bounce back. And so, folks that are in their 50s, 60s definitely need to have a more cautious look. And one of the concerns I've heard is that folks, advisors out there say, just hold the road. Well, you'll be okay. Well, if you're younger than 50, yeah. If you're older than 50, not so much. I think that in the last 2 weeks, our portfolios have definitely been taking risk off the table. And if yours is not, and you're in that age group, I would have some concerns.
Absolutely. It's something we preach over and over and over again that age makes a big difference. And this is the perfect example. The 40-year-old and the 30-year-old ought to be dumping money in. And that's exactly the opposite advice that you're giving the 50 and 55-year-olds.
Right, and obviously everybody needs to look at their circumstances and figure out what's best for them. But I can't imagine hanging it all out there at age 55, 60 years old.
Absolutely. It was bloody yesterday, and you can almost bet there's a little green ink this morning. Not very doggone much, but there's been a recovery this morning, a little bit anyway. Not being helped by the one bit of macro news that came out in February. Even before we got into this scare, retail sales in the country declined by 0.5%. I'm assuming you didn't even have time to go double check and see what the expectation was, or did you?
Well, I do. The expectation for retail sales, both core and total, was to be up 0.1%.
So we went exactly in the opposite direction by about 0.6%, which certainly isn't going to help morale any.
Definitely not. That's a pretty big miss, I would say. But probably I would also say that's probably expected, given what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, because the coronavirus kind of started scaring people at least a little bit in the middle of February when it hit Seattle, but kind of surprised me to see a 0.5% drop, and it obviously was not what the market was hoping for in the process either. The other thing coming out is we're starting to see rattles coming out of the airline industry, with a lot of airlines talking about the possibility of bankruptcies. Gosh, where have we heard that happen before, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago, right? That
I think they all went through it at least once in the process of the, what was it, 80s? Or was it the early 90s that we went through all of them?
I can't remember, but I know we've gone through most of them. There's some newer ones that haven't been through that yet, but definitely the old uh, legacy airlines have definitely been through it.
Absolutely. So, just to put it on the record books, from what I've been reading, the market crash that we've had over the past three trading days has been even faster than the 1929 crash or our crash in the 2009 bump, where we really went downhill rapidly to our bottom of the Great Recession. And as we said, it has a tendency when we get into this, especially when it's fear induced, to come back quickly. You got a couple of businesses that have reported quarterly earnings. Can you give us any bright spots off of those this morning?
Yeah, we do. We have HD Supply, which is an industrial supplier, and they beat by about 9 cents a share. Revenue was above what was forecasted, and they're talking about having, taking steps to help customers navigate through these difficulties caused by this virus, which ultimately is going to hurt them, right? Because their suppliers are probably going to be, or their customers are going to be slow paying them, and it's going to be a downhill trickle. They're actually down almost 12% this morning before we get started.
That's so they beat, but they're
They
down.
beat. They beat across the board, and they are down. Yes.
And
Yeah.
the guidance was what scares everybody.
Yeah, I think so in that case. The other one we have is Michael's. The place your wife likes to go and my wife likes to go and get those crafty and artsy things.
The
Um,
place women go when they take their husbands when they're mad at them.
Yeah, exactly. So, hey, they beat by a penny a share. Revenue was basically in line with what was forecasted. Same store sales were down 2.4%, but that was better than what was expected. And so they were, when I looked earlier, they were up. Let's see where they are now. They're still up about a third of a percent right now.
Okay, I got distracted looking for that last one you were mentioning, and I don't see Michael's either on my winners and losers list this morning. Well, resetting the table for the morning. Once again, bloodbath yesterday. We're talking about 12, 13% drops because what goes down must go up. There's a little bit of a bounce this morning, nowhere near the drop we had yesterday, but let's quantify it. 45 minutes before the market opens, Philip, what do the numbers look like?
They are green, but they've been all over the place this morning. They've been up substantially at last night's extended trading, but now they are, well, they're green, but not by as much as you and I would like them to be. Everything's up a little over 7/10%. The Dow's up about 7/10, $140. The S&P 500 is up almost 7/10, $16. The Nasdaq's up a little over 1%, $78 as
And
we head
you know,
into the open.
indication how volatile that is. Your number on the Dow is 100 points off the delayed quote that I've got. That's how fast it's moving this morning.
Yeah, it is. It is moving relatively quickly. If we look at other things today, we've got everything else is down this morning. Gold is down by about 0.4%. Silver, it took a bath yesterday. It's taking another bath today. It's down 4.3%. Silver is down below $12.50. It's at $12.26 an ounce right now. And then crude oil is down about 0.5%, down to $28.87 a barrel.
Yeah, I took a real bath over the weekend, getting down under $29, and it's stayed there for the last day, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. Yes, sir.
It has. Overseas markets, Japan was taking a cue off of our futures markets overnight with things looking relatively bright. Asian markets, for the most part, closed up this morning. Europe, on the other hand, is getting a look at what's happening to us now, and they're trading downward by a little bit, some of them by as much as 1.5%, 45 minutes before we start trading and halfway through their trading day. Philip, it's weird times, and like we were saying at the top, there are different advice levels for different people. This is one of those times where everybody needs to sit down with a serious, unbiased advisor. How do I find you?
And give us a call at 863-382-0037, especially those folks out there trying to do this themselves and go it alone. And man, I just can't imagine what that looks like right now. Follow us online at statlerfinancial.com, and then join us every weekend for the Statler Financial Radio Show, 6 a.m. and noon on Saturdays, 10 a.m. on Sunday mornings on News Talk 7:30 a.m.
All righty. And back here again tomorrow morning, same time on Light. Philip, a belated happy birthday again, and I thank you so very much. You have a good day.
Thanks, Dave. You too, and you guys have a happy St. Patrick's Day.
You as well. Sure to Magora, be well. It's 105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services, Phillip Statler.
Folks, I want to thank you for joining us today. Hey, if you have friends and family out there, hey, have them tune in. Give them this address, Statler Financial Services on Facebook. Let them dial in and keep track of what's going on. If you're out there, please give us a call. If there's anything we can do, any way we can help you through this process and bring some certainty in these uncertain times, please reach out to us. Give us a call. That's what we're here for. 863-382-0037. Have a great day. I look forward to speaking to you again tomorrow.